Hi, welcome to 21st Century Minuteman training videos. This is specifically dry fire. I'm expecting to do at least 4 to 5 videos of dry fire practice, why to do it, how to do it, the perks of doing it, and we're going to move in from there. But we want to start with safety first. Now, safety means not hurting anybody, including yourself, with your pistol. And there are some basic guidelines to make sure you're operating your pistol safely during dry fire practice, and that carries across into using live ammunition. 3 basic rules of safety. We can make it fun, but the fun needs to be safe, otherwise don't do it. So, number 1 rule of gun safety is keep the barrel pointed in a safe direction at all times. The second one, keep your finger off the trigger until ready to use, which means your finger is indexed on the side of the frame until you are actually on target and ready to fire, and it's a safe direction to fire. And then you also keep the gun unloaded until ready to use. All those boil down to one basic premise. Treat the gun like it's loaded, even when you're confident it's not loaded. That way, nobody gets hurt. All right, so with that in mind, I'm assuming, of course, that the person viewing this video understands the basic principles of how their pistol operates, including the action of their trigger. Is it single action? Is it double action? Is it single double? Is it traditional single double? Is it double action only? Maybe it's striker fired, which can also give you a few variations. You might have what is similar to single action, where you have to operate the slide each time before the trigger can be used to release the striker and fire a round. Or you may have something, for example, a Taurus G3C, or basically the trigger can actually set the striker and release it, which feels like double action, but it's a striker fired. So with that in mind, things you can also practice: slide operation, return to battery, using a safety switch, using a decocker, practicing magazine ejection and insertion, especially when you're carrying. How fast can you access your magazine? You can talk about and practice in dry fire clearing your pistol, your holster position, even drawing do's and don'ts. When all that's been said and done, you can actually practice various types of aiming, such as using sight alignment and sight picture for fine accuracy. You might be talking about flash sighting for a faster reaction to a threat, even point and shoot. Depending upon the distance and the time you have allotted to you to defend yourself, these are skills you need to practice ahead of time with dry fire, and then later on vet it with live ammunition in a safe way. So when you need the skills, you have the skills. Because if you wait until you need the skill and you haven't practiced it, you will most likely fail or fumble. When's the last time you tried to put your watch on fast when you're rushing, or tie your shoelaces fast, or undo a zipper fast? Everything jams up, messes up. The best of your practice is not what's going to happen when you're under fire and you're trying to protect yourself. Actually, the worst of your practice sessions is what usually surfaces when you're under attack, when your adrenaline's going and you're rushing and you're panicked and you get the fight or flight response thing going. The worst of your practice will be the best of your response. So what happens if you haven't practiced at all? Probably dead. So that's why people dry fire practice, so they have the skills available in muscle memory when it's time to actually use these things in real life. I'm going to walk us through these skills in dry fire practice one step at a time. This is session 1. Safety first. We'll talk, rather than saying we're going to talk about it in the next video, let's talk about it now. How to clear your pistol. Okay, here's a Taurus GC3. Magazine is in it. You have no idea if this pistol is cleared or not. So the first thing we do, eject the magazine. And while mechanisms may vary slightly from one model pistol to another, read your manual. Know how to operate your pistol safely. We eject the manual, the magazine with the switch. Now we're going to actually lock the slide back, and your manual tells you how to do that. Now you can actually inspect the chamber to make sure nothing's in there. We know the magazine is empty. We now have a cleared pistol. All the ammunition goes off the table, put it in a box somewhere, in a drawer, in a safe, get it completely out of the way, because ammunition has a way of finding its way back into a pistol. Okay, now, we can now I don't recommend using the slide stop as a release because it's under tension, and all you're going to do is wear the thing out faster. I haven't found a manual yet that calls it a slide release. What I do find is I'm calling a slide stop. To avoid wearing down the slide stop to where it ceases to function, and I've actually had that happen to me from a used pistol, all you got to do is take your other hand, grab the slide, pull it back, and let it go. Now the slide's back in battery, and you're ready to fire a shot. That is how to properly clear a pistol. Now, for sake of conversation, here is a M&P Shield 9mm. It's already cleared, nothing in the magazine. And the normal magazine looks like this. This is your magazine base. Up on top is the follower. That's that plastic spring-loaded piece that pushes the ammunition up to the top. And along with this, there's a little ledge right here where my fingernail is that actually pushes up on the slide stop in your pistol. This doesn't come into play until this is all the way up. As long as you have ammunition above this pushing it down, that little ledge can't touch the slide stop in your pistol. When you're out of ammunition, this is all the way up. It pushes up on the slide stop, which locks the slide like this. So, if you're going to be dry fire practicing and you want to use dummy rounds, or perhaps you want to use a laser trainer, which would look something like this, striker or firing pin hits the back pad and a little laser burst comes out the front, which I can simulate by doing this. Watch the little red dot. Here we go. Little red dot right there. See it? So as soon as that laser hits it, you get a little red dot. Now, if I'm going to load this into this pistol, which requires every time I want to fire the round, I have to operate the slide over and over again to do this. What if I don't want to do that? Especially if I was using a regular magazine, here's what would happen. Because that follows up at the top, I go to operate my slide. Now, normally I only have to pull it back about this far. Very small amount, and I can fire a shot. But some people in their first learning tend to pull the slide all the way back. If you do that, the magazine is pushing up on the slide stop, and it gets in the way. And you have to then eject the magazine, at least partially, before you can release the slide again back to battery. So to solve that problem, I've created a practice magazine. I have removed the follower and the spring. So now, if I put that in this pistol, you'll notice I can pull the slide all the way back and it still functions and returns to battery, allowing me to fire the next shot with my laser trainer. Now, I've marked this magazine special. I got blue tape around and everything else, so I can't mistake it for a regular magazine. It's just a training magazine that I built for my pistol. If you're using something more like the Taurus, you don't have to worry about it because it has a resettable trigger and you don't have to worry about operating the slide to reset the striker to fire the shot. These are things you can do to practice with dry fire. Now, you might want to practice first some of your skills with a dummy plastic inert gun, especially if you're doing something dangerous, learning how to draw fast. You don't want to shoot yourself. You can practice with a airsoft pistol or a pellet gun. Again, these don't require LTCs where you most likely live, and the same foundational skills are involved. You can practice a little bit with that. You can practice with a SIRT laser trainer, which is designed specifically just for practicing with lasers, and you can actually get them in different weights and sizes, and that's great for practice. Outside of that, don't forget, you can practice clearing jams and other problems working with your ammunition using dummy rounds made for various calibers. I've even used these with students that I'm teaching who are experiencing shot anticipation and insist that they're not experiencing shot anticipation, which means they're basically jerking the pistol like that when they fire the shot, even when ammunition is not going off. So I'll mix those dummy rounds with live ammunition, put it in one magazine, and when they get to a dummy round, you see the pistol dip. So what was that? That wasn't recoil, that was your hand doing that. These are all things you can practice in dry fire. And since I mentioned shot anticipation, that is basically if you were to have someone put their hand up in the air and you tell them, I'm going to slap your hand 3 or 4 times, all I want you to do is not let your hand get pushed back when I hit it. You do that 3 or 4 times and then stop short of hitting their hand. You'll see their hand go forward. Because in their mind, they're now offering an equal and opposite force to what they expect their hand's going to encounter. Well, the same thing happens when you're firing at the range. You fire, 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 and you get to a point where you do this just before the shot's about to break because you think that's going to keep the pistol at an even position and on target. It does not work. It's called shot anticipation. So if you're right-handed, you're pulling across your center mass, you're going to shoot down left. If you're left-handed, shot anticipation will cause you to fire down right. You'll blow away the bottom corner of the sheet and never hit the bullseye. Dry fire allows you to learn the mechanics and muscle memory of shooting without shot anticipation. Because since you're not using live ammunition, there's no big boom, there's no recoil hitting your hand, and you get the sense of learning what an actual correct shot feels like without any movement. And you can practice this. Now when you go to use live ammunition, you'll realize that was a bad shot. I felt myself do it. I felt the muzzle dip. I felt myself pushing forward on the pistol. I felt myself doing this or tightening muscles. I felt myself changing my grip as I was squeezing the trigger. These are things you learn to not do in dry fire practice. All right, kick the dead horse enough. You understand now the purpose of dry fire, what it is, why we do it, what to learn from it. Now we're going to go into video training number 2, dry fire practice. I'll see you there.